Season 2, baby.
Season 2,
Welcome
baby.
back.
Welcome back. What an incredible few weeks it's been, right?
Just been.
Hasn't it? Okay. So,
Okay.
Intro?
So welcome to Lantyn Labs. It's
Hello.
the podcast where we make new things using AI products every single week. We are both working in the creative and AI industries. And I'm calling this the era of just trying to ride the wave and not fall off the surfboard, because a lot has gone down since season 1. We took a small break.
We did.
Yeah.
I feel like the small break, while it was small, it was very condensed with the amount of things that we did in that small break. So I'm excited to hear about what you did, because
Yeah, just quick recap, just to give you an idea of why we took a break. What went down? You were at Saatchi Gallery for Chelsea Art Week talking about AI and art.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was cool.
I went to Korea.
You went to Korea.
And did a talk with the co-founder of Sora. Lol.
Levels.
What else?
What do you remember where that, like, you haven't mentioned where you went to do that talk in, the
MIT.
Yeah,
no, that was our last one, was after MIT. But just in case anyone missed it, I did go to MIT.
You did go to MIT. I just want to sort of like, I was just like teeing that up so you can be like, I did go to MIT, right?
That was sick. I did 2 talks in one day, actually. In the morning, I was in Birmingham, and in the afternoon, I was in the Cotswolds. I did a talk in Man City Football Stadium.
Love that.
Yeah, you've been on a huge project for a global technology company that's going to be the first of its kind.
Yes. NDA.
Right.
But honestly, like, it's super exciting. Like, I think the sort of like time that we've like had, like in between season 1 and season 2 it's been nice to sort of like, it's been interesting to sort of like go, okay, what we're doing. Film stuff's been amazing. Made some like really great new music videos, really sort of like pushing like that sort of stuff really, really hard. And I think like the crazy thing is, I was like really thinking like how many new technologies have come out in the time where, like, what's it been, 3 weeks that we've had a break?
Yeah, about a month.
About a month, yeah. And like in that time, things have changed so much that I'm like, okay, now what do we do?
We're working out how to work in this industry. Like, I feel like I'm simultaneously picking up what people are putting down, but I'm also, this is such an important time to be strategic.
Yeah.
And it's in so many ways, it's still the beginning. Like, I do talks all the time and I'm like, it's not going to be complicated enough, but people still don't know. I also did Stylist Live in that time.
You did do Stylist stuff.
Yeah, which was great. And it's just really cool to...
Do you want to tell the viewers who Stylist Live is?
It's a women's magazine in the UK, and I ran some AI workshops at their like big event, and it was really cool to see how engaged women were. Particularly, I was pushing the stuff that we talk about on the podcast, making our own products. I was really trying to inspire people to make more, because we know women are less likely to adopt. But I wanted to ask you, before we get into some updates this week and the things that we've built, if you had to summarize like the top line, what do you think you've learned on our little break? Because from my perspective, I've learned, so in Korea, we talked about sovereign AI, which is the idea of each country having their own AI. And if AI is comparable to electricity, why would you be getting it from somewhere else? I learned about the importance of personalizing contextualization from the co-founder of Siri, who I could not believe I was on the same bill as. And it's really interesting in this era of, we're all scared about giving our data away, but the only way we're going to get results is to get that personalized and contextualized AI. What I always say, like, if you've written a personal development book, why wouldn't you want an AI companion to personalize and contextualize the reader? Those are probably my 2 biggest lessons that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm trying to summarize some of the conversations that we've had since then.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I think, like, to that, like, the things that really have stood out for me this break have been the technology, like the evolution of this technology is not slowing down. Is in fact gathering pace at such an insane clip that I'm like, how every week is there like 5 new insane things that have happened, and like, okay, things have like massively changed again. So real big developments in AI video, and that's everything from like traditional sort of like, the sort of like current big players like OpenAI launched Sora 2. That's had a really interesting impact on the world, like, in terms of like how social media and AI is sort of like slowly combining, and like you can kind of see like the data that they're figuring out, and like how that's going to lead like into a new sort of like era of advertising, which I'm definitely calling slop-vertising, because the idea of like making adverts so quickly and at such speed is going to become a deluge. It's going to become a tsunami on social. So I think that's been super interesting. Some of the things that are like, I'm like, how do I dress this up as like being really interesting? But I think one of the key things for me this break have been this idea of like how long, when you're making an AI film, you generate everything in clips, right? Now, the assumption is that when you say that you want to film, you push a button and the film comes out. The reality is that to get to the right clip that you want to use may take you an almost infinite amount of time. So the success rate for just one clip is so long that actually needs to be factored into like when we're making films now, because like actually, what is the clip generation success rate? How long does it take to get to the right one? And how long do you spend trying to get that right one? Because honestly, like last night when you got back, and I was like looking very bedraggled, is because I was trying to get this one very particular thing to happen and I just couldn't do it. And I spent hours doing it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll stand outside for a minute. I'll touch a tree for a bit and see what happens. But, you know, like it's that sort of like real life, real learning that's like happening on the ground. So that's been interesting. And then we've got all manner of vibe coding stuff. So I cannot wait to share some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I just knew you were like on your own tip when I came home last night. I was like, I'll just leave it to it.
Yeah. Why you got odd socks on, Omar? I'm like, I don't know. But your trousers are on backwards.
I really got an insight into your world just in the past few days, actually, of the video generation. Because on Sunday, I went to this, it's kind of like a woo-woo exercise class called Sanctum. And it was like a festival. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine that I met recently. She's kind of like a life coach, I guess. And we were talking about putting your own thoughts on trial. And I wanted to make an AI video of that. And I was like, how can I make a video of me having a thought? And then inside my head is like a courtroom. And it's like me versus me arguing for and against something.
I love that so much. I can't even deal with it.
And like, I thought, oh, cool. I'm just going to ask you and like, we're just going to wave a magic wand and it's going to work because, you know, I've been sitting here and I've been seeing all the incredible things that you are pushing the limits right now of like the AI video capability. And I can't wait for that to drop. And I was like, cool, I'll just come home and I've got this idea, you know, I've got Omar, like, he's going to help me. And you were like, no, that's really hard. And that, honestly, that was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I was like, oh, and so when you say, you know, you need to factor in the time of the video generation because you're not going to get the same one, I really just got a bit of an insight into like how difficult it is to go from your vision to actually the execution. You know, it's not, and, you know, I guess it just comes back to thinking about the machine as a creative partner and stuff. And really, the skills to drive it are, it's not easy.
Oh, honestly, like it really makes me think like, you know, when I used to work in advertising, there was like a rule of thumb like, you know, you don't work with animals, you don't work with kids. And I'm like, you need to add, don't work with AI onto that as well, because they're about as like, you know, like corralling an AI into doing something that is not your vision, because I think we're not even close to being able to like get your exact vision, but it's like a shared vision with the machine that you're like, okay, actually I'm happy with this, and the machine is able to produce it and make it look good as well. Like, you know, like so many things on this particular film where we were like trying to figure out like, you know, how do you even like when a hand reaches in the frame to do something, is that hand in the like is my like I'll give you a really good example. Like in a particular scene, I've got a hand, like someone's picking something up. Now, the arm looks disjointed because then you're like, well, hold on a minute, because the next bit, we have to like move where the person would be. But if the arm's there, then the person should be there, but then the person isn't there. And suddenly, like, even though you're like, you've made a film and it looks great, this particular section was so beautiful, but because the arm was like a floating, it didn't make physical sense. It suddenly made me realize like, when I'm watching a normal film, like you kind of take it for a given that everything is physically correct or everything is like in our reality. And suddenly you're making a film and you're like, that arm seems to be like floating in from space, or like, you know, why is that shoe doing that thing over there? And you're like, oh, hold on a minute. It still doesn't understand. So in order for it to like do the thing you want it to do, it's so complicated, but such a thrilling challenge.
What the biggest lesson, if I may, that I've seen on your side is, you know, we're in this world where we're doing things that have never been done before. And like you're on this project and it's like, you know, if you usually had a shoot, you'd have like a set amount of time to go. And also I guess you'd have a contract of how many reiterations you send it to the client and you get it back. But because you can literally just invent something out of thin air, you're like, I can just add a whole extra scene. It means there's countless iterations, if that's the right word, from the client. So there's no... And at first, like you were like, it'll be good to have 5 go backs. But actually, you've really seen the value in there being infinity, which at first was annoying. But actually, the idea, there's a whole new way to work with like so I guess like creative director and client in the age of AI that's getting defined right now.
Absolutely. And I think like that's exactly it. Like I think like what it does is it basically stops your client being a client and makes them a collaborator. And like throughout this process, like I think I've like said to you a few times, I'm like, while it's been like really difficult to sort of like read another email to go, okay, this is really interesting feedback, but that push from the client has only resulted in better work. And there's a part of me that just doesn't want to even agree with the statement that I've just said out loud. Like junior me, like the first time I started advertising, was very annoyed at me saying that, but it's a reality because the client understands the collaborator from the client understands their world far better than I do. So if I understand my world, they understand their world. Together we can create something really, really magic and really potent. And I think that has been a really important lesson throughout this like process. But you know, like I said, like the filmmaking part is just, it just feels like it's just one part of like the entire process of what creative output you can make with the machines, like with AI.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? The fact that you just called the client a collaborator. And I guess what frustrated me so much was that I couldn't so easily go from idea to execution the other day, was because I was thinking about our conversation that we had, which I do believe is true. The most important thing right now is the idea.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And it's like, now we can all use these machines. It's literally the people that have the best ideas. Obviously, you still have to execute on them, that are going to rise to the top. So then when I couldn't execute my idea like that, you know, even me with you here, and I was like, oh, you know, I guess we're just always getting frustrated with pushing them.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and I think that frustration is almost like it's a good indicator that you're doing something right. Like if you're feeling frustrated with something, that means that you are at the edge of like what is possible and what's doable. You're way past the instruction manual when you're like, I feel frustrated. Like you're like, okay. But even in that, like, you know, one of my favorite things is like, obviously like none of the viewers will know, but we always do a meditation before we start. And I think like it always puts me in such a good headspace when we start talking and sharing, that it's the same sort of like serenity that you need to have with the way that you're making films, because actually the things that you would normally get annoyed at are there's no need for those things to be annoying. And also I think what's interesting and another really good learning is like the previous way of making a film was a very destructive way. And what I mean like by destructive means like you couldn't go back and change something. You couldn't go back and go, okay, we'll just do another shoot. We'll just do another couple of days shoot. We'll just do another, you know what, actually, let's just change location. Let's go somewhere else. So we tried 5 other things. Like it would be impossible. Like you would do something, the brief would come in, then you'd make it, then you'd sign it on pre-production, post-production, job done. Here, what I'm seeing is like we're in this very interesting sort of like creative circular methodology where like we're constantly moving forward. So maybe it's like a spiral. What's a circle moving forward?
Circle that moves forward, like a ball rolling.
Yeah. I keep like exactly like it's moving forward and it's getting smaller and smaller. Like, you know, the things that we're doing are getting better and better, but they're refining and they're getting tighter.
Maybe you can make an AI film to articulate this.
No, maybe I should do that. Right? Maybe I should do that. That would be absolutely brilliant. Like, so I think like, you know, even those sorts of like interesting new processes are fascinating to watch in real time. And you're like, oh, hold on. We've gone from like this idea of like everything being one straight line, which when you think about like why, you know, advertising or creativity hasn't been that bold or experimental, is because if you're a CMO and you're like, we have a business objective, we need to use creative to meet that business objective. We're going to do that in the most like proven methodology already, right? So we're like, we'll make an ad and we'll do this, it'll go on TV, and then we'll do some press and we'll do this, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now with the like incredible like new sort of set of tools, like I really want to get to a place where like people can, like especially CMOs and people at brands can really feel confident in experimenting and being more creative, because they can push it now and like go, oh, let's like try this out. Let's put a spaceman in it. Why is there not 500 dogs in this ad?
Yeah, and I guess it goes back to that thing I say it in my talks often about, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like if you're right, if you're not getting annoyed at the machine, you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
But it's a different culture that we haven't had before, you know, of let people experiment and let people get annoyed and give them the time to try something new. And you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable so that then you can upskill, level up yourself, and then go out there and make something.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the reflection of the machine asks us to level up.
That's it, right? And you like it's always like really fascinating because like the machine is basically a mirror. Like, you know, it's what we see, and what you were saying before about like the idea being the most important thing, like that I cannot agree with more, because in a time where anyone can produce anything, like we're going to talk about Sora 2 in a second, but in a time where anyone can produce anything, the only thing that stands out, and you know, if you go on Sora 2 and you have a look at the stuff that stands out, like it's the idea behind it. It's the fascination of like why something is happening, or like who's done something really interesting that captures people's attention. And like, you know, is that like the meme economy version 2? Is it like we now have to focus on the the idea, the sort of like the very essence of an idea, and like all of that then wraps itself up in a really amazing way. But I was like, I really just want to like start talking about like some of the like new like platform stuff now. But anyway, please talk to me first, so then I can like.
Well, I just want to get back to you on that point, because I think the data grab of Sora is interesting.
Yes.
You said it, and then I sent you that video that I saw about it, and just explain that, because basically Sora 2, if anybody doesn't know, it's a slot machine. It's social media, just AI generated videos. You can put yourself into it. Yeah. But you know, you have this theory that they're just grabbing data. Tell me a bit more about it.
Okay, so Sora 2 is OpenAI's second AI video generator. So Sora 1 was literally one of my favorites, and you can kind of see like what they've done. They went from like a very high production value, like, you know, some of the stuff that you could get out of Sora 1 was just magnificent. And weirdly, like, but in the time of like VPNs, like we normally sort of like use a VPN to get into places that can let you use the new one. After I used Sora 2, I basically sort of like have been using a VPN to do the opposite, because Sora 2 is available in the US and not available here in the UK. So I'm basically using, Sora 2 is available in the UK as well. So I'm using a VPN to basically go to places where it's not available. So I'm forced to use Sora 1. That's the only way I can do it. But what Sora 2 is like, it's obviously like, you know, it's a mobile app and it's online. Anyone can make videos from, it's the most simplest and best way I've seen like an AI video generator work. Like anyone can write in pretty much anything and they will get a 10 to 15 second video back with edits, with voice, with sound effects, with really interesting cuts. People have been making all manner of like absolutely brilliant stuff. Like, you know, I think the really interesting thing is like the cameo part of it, where you can put your face in it and then people can like, you know, like have you act in different things. Like you can kind of see like the data part of what they're doing is really important, because if you imagine all of the other big AI companies have their own AI platform. So, pardon me, Google has YouTube, Meta has Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So when OpenAI need to sort of like get that, you know, quality first party data, then it would make absolute sense for them to do Sora 2. So then people can literally just like be making video constantly. They can like have themselves act in it, and all of that is going to be super interesting. And, you know, I was reading the other day about their roadmap of like what they're planning on doing. And, you know, I don't know how much of that's true or not, but like, I think the idea of like what's coming next with Sora 2 is going to be really interesting for real creators, you know. So
with the data grab though, it's like, what data are they getting? Because they don't have their own social media platform. So they've launched this thing so they can see. So basically, they don't have to do a deal with Instagram.
They don't have to do it.
So they can see what kind of memes people like and understand the kind of not only the market for AI slot, but also what people want to talk about. And it's like, we've spoken about AI as a meme machine before, and this is like a meme machine on crack. Like trends happen so quickly. And actually, I saw something interesting yesterday, which was like, why? Like, why are they doing that? You know, in Silicon Valley, they have this idea that everything should start for fun, and then it becomes serious. But actually, you could argue this is more dangerous. You know, I'm a techno-optimist, but I don't want to be naively optimistic. And I always get asked really difficult questions when I do talk about like really difficult data protection and stuff. And in this instance, I do think, you know, in the era where we don't know what's real and what's not, and yes, it's got the watermark, but it's so easy to remove. Something that seems like it's starting as a fun tool, but you can actually put people, like you've been making loads of videos of Diplo, like doing ridiculous stuff and like spamming him with them. And it's like, it's slightly...
I was hoping that you wouldn't mention that. No, but it's like, I obviously now have to talk about it, but like, please.
But it's like, it's got this element of number one, why the fuck do we want that? Like AI slop, and like why do we want to like a sea of AI generated content? We're seeing Gen Zs are getting offline way more, you know. But also it's like, whoa, they are rapid. It's literally like, you know, the matrix of lasers in that film. They're like this sea of like legal problems they can get into when you can put any famous person in the most ridiculous situations. It just seems like, I don't know, like, yes, you're right. When I was trying to articulate my idea quickly, it's a good idea to generate the exact kind of AI video that you want. But in terms of like usability, like I don't find it sticky. Like I'm not going back to it all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, I think like that's it. Like it's this brilliant software that can make really compelling, really short form videos that have self-contained stories. So the best way that I can almost like, the best way that I imagine it is like, it's like Vine, but like it's machine made, but with human creativity behind it. So, you know, I think the other interesting thing you said, like what I started like seeing with it was like memes were happening, like, you know, like trends are happening almost like per hour, definitely like less than a day. Like, you know, there'd be like 2 or 3 like brand new sort of trends. And I'm talking about everything from like, you know, one of my favorite stories from it so far is like, you know, Jake Paul has been sort of like, he's, you know, he did a cameo. So like now people are using him and mocking him, or like, you know, doing stuff that, you know, like plays fun. Like, you know, we know he's like a particular sort of like person, but now we're seeing him like, you know, dressed up as a ballerina, like, you know, running through a mall, like, you know, singing and like, you know, crying and all of the things that like people want to see him do. And, you know, there was this really sort of like interesting thing that people were talking about on LinkedIn. Always my favorite sort of litmus test. Like if LinkedIn's talking about it, is probably the opposite, because like it's like, oh my God, like, you know, what's this going to mean for IP, blah, blah, blah. And then the statement from Jake Paul was literally my favorite, that he was approached by them and he was a part of the entire like idea of like using his likeness to generate more people. Like, you know, like he's a very marketable commodity. So like, if you can go on and make your own Jake Paul video, people were going to do that. So suddenly they were like, people were making Jake Paul videos. Like one of my favorite ones that I made was like Sam Altman and Diplo having a chat about something. And they were talking about like how I'm their favorite director. And I loved it because I put it online. And they were like, how are we going to work with Omar? And I was like, oh, that's so cool. They really want to work with me, even though I know I made it myself. But it's stuff like that that makes you go like, wow, like, yes, of course, super fun. I think the important thing now is like the literacy of like, can you tell what is AI and what is not? And obviously, like, you know, we know that every kind of technology always leads to someone being hoodwinked, right? And I'm thinking about spam emails. I'm thinking about like, you know, cold calling at the front door. Like there's like, no matter what interaction we have, it can be exploited. Now, obviously AI, where you're like, is that real or not, can be exploited, but that's been around for a little while now. And, you know, like, it's like, I guess it's going to be super interesting.
Don't worry.
Okay, fabulous. Sorry, I was like, damn, the machine's gone. Anyway, super fun, super interesting. Really excited to see where they go. Their roadmap is super interesting. I don't want to like get into it too much, but they basically are talking about like how they're going to be able to like make longer form content. Like, you know, when you go online, like that's always been the sort of like a promise of AI. Like, will we get hyper personalized content? Like, could I go online and just watch a film where everything that I want to have, you know, like, can I see Die Hard, but like in Beckton Retail Park, and it's all in the Pizza Hut?
And therein comes the isolation, because you don't have anyone to share with, you don't have anyone to share your cultural references with. And I agree. And let's move on. It's not necessarily Sora's my favourite thing to talk about. It kind of happened like a few weeks ago. Everyone's chatting about it. But one thing I did think when you were chatting about it was, you know, what about the era of like bullying? Like, you see, do you remember that guy that like rinsed Craig David? You know, and like he did all that stuff on Channel 4, like Mel, like, you know, like the celebrity juice guy. Imagine if he did that like on Sora. Do you know what I mean? That's honestly, the kind of era that we're in, right? It's like those J Paul ones are the new gen of like rinsing Craig David on Channel 4.
Look, honestly, like I would agree. And I think like what's been really interesting is like, so I'll give you a real lived example, right? So a couple of days ago, I made a bunch of really interesting and fun videos, and it was all about like, so I was like thinking about this idea of like, you know, I wonder if I could get the gut microbiome to sort of like, you know, make a plea, like how do I get people to engage with the gut microbiome, right? Like if I did something cool with the gut microbiome, then maybe people would engage with it because it's the core of our health, right? So I went from that thought to like, I wonder if I could, like, you know, who would I want to sort of like be the face of that? And I was like, probably Diplo, because, you know, he's really like active on Sora. And I thought to myself, gut microbiome, Diplo, music. What if we make a colonic irrigation machine that Diplo uses to make music with? And I put that out, right? I made loads of videos of them. And, you know, it's hilarious because Sora's very good at like showing exactly what I was talking about. And honestly, it's hilarious because it's hooked up to his door, it's Ableton Live, and he's really gassed about it. Pardon the pun. Now, when I told you and Gussie about it, both of you were like, is he not going to get upset by that?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, what about his ego? Blah, blah, blah. But it's been amazing because like, he obviously like shared it straight away. And like, you know, loads of people remixed it. And like, one of my favorite remixes was he's making music with this colonic irrigation machine, but only nacho cheese keeps coming out of him. And it's hilarious. But like, I feel like that is an indication of like going, how if we're talking about like there's going to be a time where privacy is less and less, what about the sort of like how much are we going to be able to laugh at ourselves? Because like you know, it's fine me doing that about him, but what if he did that about me and he made me a really like,
and the death of the ego in the age of AI, you know, the intellectual humility, you have to make your mind up about something and then change it. So if you can't trust what you see, you have to accept that people might publicly rinse you and be okay with it. And therein is our other opportunity to level up spiritually in the age of AI.
Yeah. There we go. I love how we brought it back. Also, like, you know, the more people that are talking about you, the better. Like, you know, like, why is everyone like, you know, it's been so hilarious. Like the sort of like guffawing at like, oh my God, like Jake Paul, his image, and like, isn't he going to be upset? Like, this is the end of time. And like, you know, Jake Paul, like, yo, I did it on purpose. Like, I'm fine with people taking the piss out of me. Like, what difference does it make with me? Like, I make money off this. Like, I am generating revenue for myself doing this. So being the butt of a joke, is that good or bad?
How is he generating revenue on Sora?
Because like, I mean, like literally just from like people knowing who he is, from hype, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay, if we are in the fourth industrial revolution, you know, I did another talk that was all about that the other day, and like modern problems need modern solutions. Ego-driven capitalism is not working. Is this the dawn, do you know what I mean, of the raising of consciousness, the death of the ego?
I love that it came in
the face of the greatest technology humanity's ever seen. I mean, look, I don't want to get too deep.
Yeah. So basically, making a meme out of yourself is the only way that humanity saves itself.
No, but I mean, there's, you know, you could look at it through that lens. It's a techno-optimistic lens. It's a utopian dream lens, but it's a lovely lens to look down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, maybe it will just sort of like, you know, allow us to sort of like not have that sort of like constant feeling of being offended when you're like, actually, now, if everyone can like mock each other, are we going to go back into a different sort of like, are we about to enter a different age of like how we interact with each other and actually go, it's all right for us to sort of like mock each other because we're bags of meat hurtling through space?
Yeah.
You know, like, is that a thing? Like, is the death of the ego because of Sora 2? I literally love that, by the way. We need to turn this into a LinkedIn post.
I mean,
honestly,
it's just a theory. And like theories, and like theories are all we have, and like we're coming up with new theories all the time. And that's like the thing about AI, it forces us to think in that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's something like in my brain, like this acorn that's coming to life when you're talking about it. It's like, okay, you know, before when Zuckerberg took the guardrails off of the like what is truth and what isn't truth. So, and we know that like he basically designed Instagram for a moment to push like hate talk because it got more clicks. And it's interesting because as my following is getting a bit bigger, I'm starting to get haters.
Oh my God.
And then I thought to myself, it's quite jokes when someone comments under my thing, that's actually good for the algorithm. I was like, it's really screwed up, but like, is it a reimagining of the algorithm then in that case? Like if we all accept that the ego is dead and we're not trying to optimize the algorithm for people like keyboard warriors, what does that mean for the design of social media? But that's a half fleshed out thought.
Honestly, I think it's a great fleshed out thought. I mean, it's a great thought and I can't wait for it to be fleshed out. But therein, like, you know, it's engagement, right? Like, like maybe that's it. Like maybe this is the future. And, you know, the shared experience, I guess the solve of that is like making a social platform, right? Where I can make a film, it might just star me, you can make a film, it might star you, but we're sharing it in one like common space and anyone can watch it. And then maybe that's it. Like, you know, it always comes back to like how long are we getting people to spend time online. So
yeah, and that, at the same time, you know, like this afternoon I'm about to go on a retreat where they take my phone off me and I can't wait. And I'm not alone. I want to get off of this. I want to not be on it. I like just had a meeting and they're like, cool, so we can do a follow-up. And I was like, no, I'm going to be uncontactable for like 4 days. And how rare that is. What a pleasure. Like offline is the new luxury.
Oh, honestly, I'm thinking the same thing because I ran out of data like about an hour and a half ago and I was like, amazing. I went outside to get a coffee and I was like, okay.
Whoa. Yeah.
Oh, what? Hello? Can I like what you just said? I really like the outfit.
Like,
Please. I need to like things.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about what things we've actually made then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can start simply, really simple. The one that's been most useful, I've made a few different harebrained things.
Love that, by the way.
Is just my presentation brain. It's so simple. I just uploaded every single presentation I've ever done. And then I've got the prompting where I upload the transcript of the call that I have with the client that I'm doing the talk for. Then I can run the transcript in and say what in my presentations is going to work for this ask and what isn't. And then I've got another automation where I just say what's missing from the AI news. So simple.
I love them.
And it's so useful.
Yeah.
And it was really just, I did it out of convenience. It's not like the most fruity and exciting thing we've ever made.
Yeah.
It's not like my tarot card generator or my affirmations or whatever, but it's really practical.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'd really love to know, and I'm sure listeners would love to know, is like, what did you build it in? How did you build it? Or not, you don't need to like walk me through how you built it, but like, what were your sort of like processes and steps, or like tell me a little bit more, like how, if I was at home, would I go, okay, I also want to do something similar?
I just did a customized GPT. You just need a like a subscription. I just uploaded every single presentation I have, and I was with the prompting. I made sure that I could upload the transcripts, and now often I'll just record the transcripts on my iPhone.
I love that.
And then, you know, you can just turn the voice thing into, and then, to be honest, the automation about the reading the news for me is a bit like, that's something that I kind of tack on myself at the end. I would like to formalize it more, but you can just send quite a lot of things just to deep research, like what things are going on in the news. I often just pick the newsletters that I trust the most and say, look there, that probably needs a bit more like, you know, formalization. It's sort of just stuck together with sellotape, but it's working.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And like, you know, I think the thing that really jumps out about what you're saying is like the idea of like feeling completely fine of like jumping across lots of platforms and that being a completely fluid thing. Because like if your goal is to make something better for yourself, you don't then need to like go, okay, damn, I need to figure out how to put a transcription algorithm into my software to then do a thing. You're like, well, no, I'll use the transcribing thing on this because it's really good. Then I'll take that and I'll put it here and then put that and I'll put it there. And it becomes like, while that would have taken hours and so much of your time to do, you've managed to sort of like do all of that, but with a far shorter and far more nimble workflow, which I think is fascinating.
You have to, it's the same thing that you're using the first version of Sora in countries that don't have it.
Yeah.
It's what I kind of love about this stuff. It forces you to like think, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
like,
super lateral. You
solve problems. I'm like, oh, how put this wire in this hole and then see what happens. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
But honestly, like I think like I was trying to describe it the other day and I was like, it's like having a jigsaw puzzle that only you can see and it's 3-dimensional in your head. And you're like, if I put this bit here, then that bit might do. And then if I put that bit there and then this bit here, and suddenly you end up having a beautiful thing.
And it is fun. And I've been feeling, and when I have the time to do it, because things have been so busy, it's fun.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What about your try-on thing?
Oh my God, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. Okay, so my favorite thing this week that I built was a virtual try-on mobile app. Based on the browser, optimized for mobile. Now, what you can do as the user is you can take a picture of yourself, you can take a picture of any clothes, you can take a screen grab of any clothes, you can then try those clothes on, you can put yourself in different social scenarios. So like you're like, oh, you know what, I really like that jacket, I really like those shorts. And now I've taken a picture of myself in my own house. Like, do I want to see that or do I want to see myself on the beach? Okay, cool. Like there I am on the beach and, you know, I've added a whole bunch of really interesting things, but also then like, you know, what sort of like photography style as well. Like, you know, how is this image looking compelling? So this is all like, it's a really, really interesting sort of like, network of things like virtual try on, but virtual try on in social spaces. And then, then obviously the next step after that was like, well, I wonder if I can make myself move and like, see myself wearing those clothes and moving around. Amazing, great, because then not only does that make me more likely to buy the product or not buy the product, it also allows me to create a social asset, because who doesn't, I obviously then like shared that immediately. I'm like, look at my new jacket, it's not real. Anyway, what's fascinating about all of this is like, because these like technologies are now so readily available for us, it comes down to the idea, because like this is what I've described is not like a brand new idea. Like people have been trying to do this for the longest time. Like Zalando have it like through all of their like, tools across Europe. Like I think some of the biggest like retailers in the US have it as well. Now what's interesting is like, how do you do virtual try on in a way that is compelling and culturally relevant, right? So whether that's, like I said, like locations, spaces, other people, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's all really good, but the thing that made it was a genuine eye-opener for me, because I was like, I could like spend hours working on this machine and just like seeing what comes out of it. Because so when we first started like making stuff, we would use like services like Replit and stuff. And
that's what I was going to say. That's what I found interesting. You use something new.
Yeah, and like honestly, like after this, I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to go back to Replit. Yeah, I know, shock horror,
really?
right? Yeah. Like, maybe Replit's like now really, really useful for like building very in-depth processes, because it's way more sort of like, it's way more, I don't want to say considered, but it's like way more robust and way more sort of like expansive than this new software. But the speed that I can like make stuff at on this new software is wild. So it's called Google AI Studio. It's available. It's like go online, sign up, and then you can just start building stuff.
You can make apps using Google AI Studio. It's funny because I'm still on my mission of trying to get Replit to sponsor us, but maybe we don't need them anymore. I haven't even reached out to them yet.
Like maybe we could like, maybe we should build I don't know, an outreach generator on Google and then use it to like get a sponsorship from Replit.
Actually, we should.
But why not? Like, but the thing is like, what it shows is like there is a bunch of softwares here. So like, of course, like, I'm like being flippant, but like Replit is very good at like what it does and is so integrated with so many different things that, the thing that I made the other day, the virtual try-on thing, doesn't have any options for like deployment where it would suddenly be like I wouldn't be able to make user accounts, for example. I wouldn't be able to take payments.
Which you can do on Replit.
Which you can do on Replit. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to use a Figma design as the sort of like user interface. So
why did you prefer it?
Because it's fast. It was so fast. It was so fast. It's so robust. And it took in comparison to how long it would take me on Replit, which admittedly, every single time they like update, it always gets better. Like I remember the first time I started using Replit, and I used to have like a 5-hour limit, or like you basically, or like you could only ask like 30 questions every 5 hours, and I would literally just like spank that time every single time. Then be like, no, I just got to wait for like 5 hours, and then you used to be able to like tweet them and be like, can I have some extra hours, and then give you some extra hours. Whereas like now, the space between an idea that I've had and me making it is negligible. So I can like literally I think that virtual try-on thing, I went down to the shop to get a coffee. The coffee shop's like 3 minutes away from the house. Like that's not far. And then on the walk back, I was able to sort of like articulate this idea to the machine and then start making it. And then, a few hours later, a bit of tweaking here, a bit of movement here, asking for different things, and you have an incredible
product. Workflow for personalizing images, which Google is best at, because I did my try-on video with Google, so it's better, and then bringing it to video, but in an app form. It's interesting.
And sorry.
No, go on.
No.
I guess it's just like the use case of it is like, seeing what you would look like in certain clothes, and then it'd be fun if you could do like limited edition, like try it now if you want to try on this coat. It's like only available till tomorrow, and then you can see it being like super shareable on social.
Like honestly, like one of my like when I finished making it, I was like, okay, obviously I just tried it with screenshots and stuff, but it was when I was like walking past a bus stop, and I was like, I wonder what I'd look like in that top. Dude, that's me wearing that. That's amazing. No way. Like so, like that real, like I guess out of all of this, and like to bring it all back to where we always like end up is, how do you make these things make you feel like you're like it's magic?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's it. Like being able to like do stuff that feels like magic is the way forward. So whether it's a film, whether it's like a talk, whether like, you know, like even when you were saying about like the amazing products that you made and you're like, oh, it allows me to sort of like make a better presentation. That's magic.
It's that famous quote that gets bandied around in the AI space: any sufficiently like advanced technology should be indistinguishable from magic, by Arthur C. Clarke, and it's true. I have an idea from what we talked about.
Yep.
It's been ages actually since we've done like a meeting together and thought, oh, we should make this AI thing. How can we use AI for this podcast sponsorship Rundle stuff?
Yeah.
Just going to leave that in the air. And something to think about this week.
All right, so like while you're away on your retreat and you can't access AI and stuff, maybe that's when the idea will come from.
Probably. Do you know what I mean? Like that's, because I think...
Please promise me you're not going to leave the retreat halfway through and just be like, I've got this idea.
Yeah, I really need to make this. No, they're going to take everything and like lock it away. So I won't even have books.
Yeah.
Pen and paper. But
why do I feel like you're going to have a burner phone like stuck to the bottom of your car and stuff?
I know. But yeah, it's something, I think we talk about AI a lot on the kind of consumer facing, you know, you do all this art and I talk about the theory, but a lot of the time there's a lot of AI behind the scenes for the processes that doesn't get like the shiny attention, which is really useful, which I guess is my example of my presentation builder this week. So perhaps that's the chin stroker to talk about next time. Okay.
Let's do that. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.